That's why, at least for me, I know that the mind is resisting many times. I mean,
Yes.
as I'm sitting and I try to bring my awareness here, there is a kind of resistance.
Yes.
And I try not to fight because I know that I don't have I know that I don't have to fight, but I know that that resistance is there.
Right.
And sometimes it's a bit exhausting.
Yes, sometimes it's a bit exhausting, yeah. Sure. You give the impulse to bring the attention back to that which makes the experience possible, and the mind comes and resists, doesn't want to give up. You give the impulse again. And then you already understood, no help of fighting with that resistance, you're also feeding it. But then accept the resistance and try to see what's going on. Observe what's happening, giving the impulse to just be. And then observe the resistance of the mind. Observe how that resistance is manifesting. Right now, how it is influencing your experience. Right now, start on the easiest detectable level. See, observe what it is doing to your body. Because invariably, if you give that impulse and that resistance comes, you also start to tense yourself, to tense up physically. And then when you become aware that this is happening, then at least at that level, give also the impulse to relax. Relax your legs, relax your feet, and the rest of the body also starts to relax. If you're physically more relaxed, also the mental resistance, at least to some extent, starts to relax by itself. And then out of habit of not wanting to let go, you will find it again and again and again. And there is no other way but to again and again and again to go about it. And it is sometimes exhausting for the mind. Oh, I've had it. But if we're not doing that, then just going on in the usual idiosyncratic way to function, to create all these tensions simultaneously going left, simultaneously going right, simultaneously I want it, I don't want it, always creating all these ideas what should be in order to be happy, and it's not there. All these ideas what should not be, and it's still there. This is much more exhausting. We may be not so much aware of it because the attention is in all the details of it, but this is really exhausting. But then you're right, it's the habit to be in that and to get lost in that. At least for some time we may create a situation that we are getting distracted enough that we are a bit lost. It's simply temporary numbing. It's not that you can ultimately escape the confrontation. If you want to find peace, we have to learn to have a good, honest look at ourselves and see what is preventing that peace, because that peace is already there. It's not that we have to create it with tapas. Tapas is not creating peace. It's not that we have to create it with a great effort. That peace is already there. All the little attempts, all the little efforts there, they are simply efforts to become aware of what's going on, and then somehow learn not to do that anymore. invariably what you're describing will happen. You try to bring the attention home, to just be, and that whoop, mental resistance is there. It's mainly becoming exhausting when you resist against the resistance. When you think it shouldn't be like this, now after all that I tried, it should finally it should be easier. Then you just accept, okay, it's there, some more work is needed, and observe what that resistance is doing. And then already you are not strengthening that resistance. When you observe how it is manifesting, you take the attention again away from the fact of resisting. And then when you start to relax physically, energetically, emotionally, then that resistance gradually becomes weaker, not strong. I know how the person doesn't want to accept it. I didn't want. So I kept on fighting. When I came to Amma and she saw that I can't just relax, so she said, yes, more, fight, increase. Increase your desire for liberation. But then she would also add, but you must have patience, and that one I didn't want to hear. And if you can't help it, if you want to resist against the resistance, if you want to resist against the fact that things are not changing quickly as you would like, then keep on resisting and hurt yourself. If you have the will to persist in spite of that, eventually the whole story will come crashing down. But you don't have to unnecessarily create all that pain. It's already a hustle all by itself, without that you artificially make it more painful. You can, if you have already that a bit more sweeter disposition, that you can accept, okay, I may have to have some patience, it may take some time, and you just go about it, then it's not such a terrible thing. Then you can learn to go about it playfully, instead of thinking it's now a terrible task, a terrible tapas that I have to do. To liberate myself from that pain-creating mechanism. But if you can go about it playfully, okay, watch it. And then become aware, got me again completely, I was again for hours totally involved in that. Then don't make a big fuss. Okay, some more work is needed. Don't beat yourself up. Don't resist against the fact, but at that moment you remember, at that moment you simply connect and relax. And even if you don't stay long, it's very precious. If you do that consequently, whenever you remember, then that memory gradually will come more often, more naturally. And even if the mind says it's difficult and I can't and I can connect a little and I'm gone again, it's no use, not making any progress. If you keep going, then the moment may come that all that looked so difficult will become simple and easy and natural. But if we learn to be playful about it, then even the process is not such a big deal. Because every time you let go, every time you withdraw your attention from your mental involvement in all those stories, in creating tensions, in creating all the difficulties and creating suffering, every time you manage to pull your attention back from that and relax into simple being, at that moment you're already reaping the fruit of it. At that moment, it's like, at least a part of the burden that we are creating and carrying along goes. So it's not that we have to sit here and think I have to go on a long journey, terrible journey, painful journey, and then at the end of it, far end of it, I'm finally getting something served called enlightenment or liberation. Every time you let go, it's like you let go someone. At least for that moment, you feel at ease, peace. And if you learn to appreciate it, then it becomes more and more natural that you're looking for that. Instead of looking for excitement, instead of looking for kicks, instead of looking for something where I can squeeze out some happiness, it becomes more natural to simply look for that ease and peace. And the deeper you dive into that, the deeper you become aware that happiness I was looking for, that joyousness of existence is already there. And if we don't prevent it, bloop, 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 it starts to come to the surface. And it's not simply at a long end journeys when you get that full liberation. The more you learn to pull your attention back to the source, to that which makes the experience possible, the more you also become aware that you are the source of your happiness. You don't need to look for the happiness somewhere. It's coming out from yourself. Still, that doesn't mean that you have to become an ascetic and now I'm only doing that. Live your life naturally. Just have the breaks. Step out of being active sometimes. And then go to your natural activities and have your little enjoyments, but learn to observe. And more you become aware the happiness is not really coming from the enjoyment. It's not coming from the circumstances. It's not coming even from a relationship. It's coming out of yourself. When we fulfill desires for a moment, we let go. For a moment we don't torture our mind. It should be different, it should be different. I want this, I want that. There is a desire. I want it, I want it, I want it, I fulfill it. And for a moment, I'm not torturing myself. And in that letting go, that sense of well-being has a chance to come to the surface. You're looking for that sense of well-being by always trying to turn around everything and turn around the circumstances and changing things so that we like them. Thinking that well-being is dependent on that, but even when we succeed in turning the circumstances in such a way that we really like that and feel happy, that happiness doesn't come from the situation. That happiness comes out of yourself, because for some time we stop torturing our mind thinking it should be different. And we relax and we let go. In that sense, even approaching, even going on your path becomes more and more joyous if we can learn to be playful about it. instead of thinking I have to do that as a terrible task, earn my reward. The reward is every time you really bring your attention to the present and relax in that sense of ease and peace, that sense of letting go of a burden is already the reward for that moment. And it's getting easier and lighter and more joyous.